Welcome to New at NAMT, the next wave of musical theater writers, a series dedicated to spotlighting the emerging voices in musical theater. Every interview provides a unique glimpse into the creative minds behind the next big musicals. So whether you're a producer, theater lover, or even simply curious about the future of musical theater, New at NAMT offers a front row seat to a new generation of writers. It's time to lower the lights, raise the curtain, and LX1, go on New at NAMT. I am your host, Jean-Paul Yovanoff from Musical Theater Radio, and joining me each week is a rotating cast of NAMT Festival consultants as our co-hosts. As part of the NAMT Festival, each musical is matched with consultants who are artistic leaders from the NAMT member organizations, who have also championed the show through the festival selection process or want to champion the show moving forward. The consultants work with their writing teams through all creative stages of the presentation and advocate for the artists and the show at the festival. Today we are chatting with Jaime Lozano and Tommy Newman about their nuevo musical Roja. Before we get into today's interview, let's welcome this week's co-host, Jen Bender. Jen, welcome to New at NAMT.
Hi, so happy to be here.
Fantastic. Now, before we meet our guests, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, of course. I'm currently the Associate Artistic Director at Paper Mill Playhouse. We're one of the founding theaters with NAMT. So Paper Mill's been a part of NAMT for years and years. And before I worked at Paper Mill, I've also been attending NAMT for years. And for anyone who doesn't know Paper Mill Playhouse, we're a theater in Millburn, New Jersey. We do world premieres and host a lot of new work. So our production of Gatsby is now in its second year on Broadway. We've got another new show called Wanted that's going to Broadway this season. So our heart and soul is in the development of new musicals, and I'm so thrilled to work with NAMT anytime I can.
Wonderful. Now that we've met our co-host, let's get to the interview. Fusing traditional Mexican folk music and mestizo folklore, Roja is a new twist on the Little Red Riding Hood story. At the edge of the desert in northern Mexico, 14-year-old girl Roja rescues a mischievous, magical coyote who offers her the chance to see her father again. What follows is a miraculous journey for all ages. Jaime, Tommy, welcome to New at NAMT.
Hola, Jean-Paul.
Oh,
Always a pleasure to see you and talk with you.
it's always good to talk with you, Jaime, as well. And Tommy, it is great to meet you. So before we chat about all things Roja, I'd love for you to introduce yourselves to the listeners. Jaime, let's start with you.
Yeah, I am a Mexican immigrant musical theater storyteller, writer, composer based in New York City. I have been here since 2007 when I came to NYU to do this master program in musical theater writing that actually Tommy went also to this program. But we didn't met there. We met like a few years after that. Yeah, and I'm very passionate about telling stories about my people, my gente, trying to to create some representation for my community.
Hi, I'm Tommy Newman, and I have been to the festival a number of times, which I'm so excited to be back. I've had a few different projects that were involved there, and I lived in the city for quite a while, but now I am currently based out of the South. I teach at Troy University down in Alabama, and I am so happy to be able to get back and continue to work on new musicals whenever I have the opportunity. And I just adore working with Jaime. We've worked on how many is this? This is our fourth musical together that we've worked on. The last one being El Otro Oz, which toured with TheaterWorks USA. And so this one is particularly special to us because we started it from scratch together. And I'm just so happy to be working with Jaime again.
Great. Well, I'll jump in here. Can you both start by telling us a little more about the story of Roja?
Yeah, absolutely. The show is like we said, it is an adaptation of Little Red Riding Hood, and it is set against the background of the Mexican Revolution. And in Roja, our heroine, 14-year-old Roja, has discovered that there is a coyote that is lurking around the house that has been sort of going after all the chickens and whatnot. And when she tries to save him from her mother one night, the mother goes out to shoot the coyote and to take care of business, as it were, and she actually saves him. And then in return, he offers her the opportunity to basically have whatever she wants. And of course, what she wants is to be able to see her father again. And so, yeah, the entire story is Coyote trying to sort of help her through this magical process to see her father again. Like most fairy tales, it has a few like little keystones across the way that she has to unlock.
Can you tell us a little bit about the role that fatherhood and your personal experience as a father plays in the exploration of family and grief in the show?
Yes, Tommy and I, we are both parents, of course, of a different son and daughter, not the same one. But I think this is a very important role in our lives. I mean, we are very like passionate about it, and we know that it's not easy. We know all the challenges that comes with being an artist and being parent at the same time, and also having a partner, a couple, and trying to work together and all that. So we have put a lot of love into this father-daughter and mother-daughter relationship in the show, knowing how hard it would be for our son and our daughter to, you know, to miss one of their parents. You know, it's a play that we don't want to put any son or any daughter in, and just exploring that with Roja and like learning from her as she's learning to grieve, as she's learning to during this journey about how to make peace with the fact of losing someone. It's something that we have put a lot of love in this show, and it's something that we want, you know, the audience to explore and to live as they see the show, you know.
Sorry, I was just going to say that I have been living with cancer for a while, and so that's idea of what comes next for my family is very important to me. And so the idea of if something were to happen to me, what is the message that I'd like to leave behind, and what is the thing that I would like for them to discover when I'm gone?
When did your collaboration begin, and what sparked the idea for Roja?
We were
Go
actually
ahead.
working in another show that Tommy just mentioned, El Otro Os. This is a show that we wrote actually back into like in 2010, some yeah, if I 2009, 2010. And a few years ago, TheaterWorks wanted to, you know, he was trying to do a new tour. So we went in to Forestburg Playhouse upstate to work in a new script and to work in a new workshop for a new version of the show. We actually changed the name. Before it was called The Yellow Brick Road, and then we changed the name to El Otro Os, The Other Os. And when we were there upstate, as we were like working again together, Tommy came with this idea. I mean, we work in another show after El Otro Os, and we were like looking for an opportunity to collaborate again. Obviously, because we are far apart, we're not in the same city. It's always a little bit challenging to, you know, to find the best way to work together. And being there in the middle of the woods, just focusing on this show, El Otro Os at the time, Tommy came with this idea about how the retelling of Red Little Riding Hood, and how to, I say it wrong, right? Little Red Riding Hood. I always change all the words. I just saw Tommy smile and I say, I think I mix the words. I always mix the words. Red Little Riding Hood, or some a Little Red Riding Hood, whatever is the order,
That's
whatever is
it.
the order.
That's it.
Hood riding red little or whatever. So yeah, he came with this idea about how can we like retell this story, and then we start this brainstorming about, you know, like setting it in some way with some Mexican context in this background, and it has been just a joy. I mean, I always get in a room with Tommy to write songs and write a music. It's always a pleasure and always end in something great. So I'm very happy to always to work with him.
The feeling is mutual.
Well, there have been other adaptations of Little Red Riding Hood in the past, but why was it important for you to tell this story through a Latinx lens?
I think I think I mean, one of the things is it's specificity is always important, you know. And as you say, there has been many other adaptations. Um, how can you make it different, and how can you make it like belong to a community that sometimes doesn't have the spotlight? You know, I think that is important, like to create. When I was growing up in Mexico, I didn't know what was Broadway, and I didn't know what was musical theater. I mean, that wasn't in my vocabulary. That wasn't on my radar at all. I never dreamt about like coming to New York City and doing what I'm doing now for a living. So I think that is important, that people can see themselves in stories, and people can see themselves in roles. I mean, that if someone say, oh man, this Mexican guy doing this, or there's this adaptation of Little Red Riding Hood that is set in Mexico, set in this, or I mean, like people seeing that open opportunities for others to know that they can do whatever they want. You know, that we shouldn't put ourselves just in roles that we think that we only belong to those roles because we don't see ourselves like in other places. So I think it's important to for me to show that we can do whatever we want to do, and like doing it through representation as a composer, as a writer, and also being specific with the story. I think that is very important.
Yeah, Jaime, it's so special whenever we get together because Jaime is like perpetually followed by his shadow. And if you don't know Jaime's shadow, his name is Alonso, and he's about, I don't know, this tall. He is just as cute as a button and so smart. And he's been very involved in our process for the whole time. He knows all of the songs. But Jaime's love for Alonso, I think, is really inspiring. And we have talked about as well when we have begun the process, but like, and we continue to talk about it, how Jaime really loves the fact that Alonso can see himself in this story. And so many fairy tales and so many faraway stories like this for children. Like he just doesn't see himself specifically. Not to put a specifically fine point on exactly what Jaime was saying. It's just a different way to explore that. But it's just really special to be able to see it unfold. And from the very beginning, we really were talking about like what is the way that we translate this story in the same way that we did with El Otro Oz is like what is it about the world of Mexico at this time that works like a fairy tale place. We wanted it to be a place that was full of magic and a place that felt like it was in a time long ago. And yet Mexico isn't a place in a time long ago. It is a place that really exists in a very modern sense. And so we can't ignore the history of the place. That has to become integral to the story as well. And so how did we translate all of that? Like I think the very obvious thing was that instead of a wolf, it would be a coyote. And right from the very beginning, that presented ourselves with the Mestizo folklore that is all around Coyote, which is an indigenous sort of god, much like Loki. And he is all about mischief and wonder and storytelling and music. And he's the god of dance. And we're like, how perfect. This is the perfect person, not just to, or a perfect character, not just to sort of befriend Roja, but also to sort of take the audience through the story as well. And it all just kind of funneled in from there. Coyote has always been really, really central to what makes our story theatrical and beautiful and magical.
That's one of my favorite things about this piece and your approach to it is that it's a Mexican fairy tale and it can only take place in Mexico. You couldn't transplant this somewhere else because all of the elements in the storytelling are so specific. So even though there's a little hint of Red Riding Hood, it is completely its own story with its own characters and its own arc. I think you've just made something so beautiful and new.
Thank you. Thank you. And the history that is sort of far away and yet still sort of speaks to us, I think, around the Mexican Revolution is like, what a time we're in right now where the world is coming apart a little bit every day. And it feels like such a moment where we all need to take a second and like assess what is important to us right now. And I'm not saying we should all be revolting, but like, goodness gracious, in the Mexican Revolution, it was a time where the people who were the wealthiest were the ones who were taken care of, and everyone else had to scrounge and fight. And it became about pointing a finger at each other until they finally figured out that what they need to do is look up.
Can you tell us more about the sound of the show and the use of traditional Mexican folk music?
Yes, I mean, in Mexican music, guitar is a very important element, acoustic nylon guitar is you can go to any house in Mexico and there's gonna be an acoustic nylon guitar, and maybe el tío or the father or someone plays guitar and they're gonna sit in the backyard and have like these barbecues, or they're gonna play in the living room and just sing along Mexican songs and things like that. I think that is part of the concept of the show. That is this group of actors getting together to tell the story, and everything is like guitar driven, like opposite to most of the contemporary musical theater that usually you have this very piano driven and things like that. So everything is like a very acoustic, a lot of different kind of guitars, different size of guitar, Mexican guitars, and the sound of the show, I could say it's more like a fusion. I mean, there's a lot of like a Mexican folk music, but fusion with a lot of storytelling, a lot of musical theater. But you can hear like a lot of Mexican and Latin American like styles and rhythms and groups like huapango, joropo, like mariachi, cumbia, things that are not, like the general audience is not very familiar with this kind of styles. And just it has been like a challenging to find, because usually the general audience, when you think in Mexican music or Latin American music, you always think about up-tempo danceable music, and people wants to dance and people wants to have party. And the truth is that this music is goes beyond that. It's not for that. So we also want to like to end with that cliche, like Latin American music or Latin music is only for fun and dance. I mean, you can use the same styles to go into another kind of storytelling. That is what we're trying to do here. And we just love exploring all these songs with this sound.
Yeah, and the melodies and the songs that we're writing together, we hope are of course very traditional, but also that they're very accessible, I think, to a modern audience, that you can hear these melodies that feel like, I don't know, maybe even you've heard them before, but that it is accessible and inspiring.
How do you envision Roja being performed in the future?
I think we are learning about that, and I think NAMT and whatever happened after NAMT is going to be crucial to know what is the best journey, what is the best path to follow. We started as a 4-actor show because we wanted to be like something that we could like do, like just go out there and do it like in a public square, or going to any kind of venue, doesn't matter the size, and something very theatrical that you can just like travel with a guitar, as I mentioned before, just like doing the storytelling where the actors are the one doing everything. And then as we start like exploring the material and realizing more things about the story, we found out that we needed to go deeper in some of the subject and maybe to go deeper in some relationships. So we needed more time, because originally it was only a 1 act. Then we decided to expand it to a 2 acts, and add a couple of actors. So the show is a little bit bigger now. And we don't know. I mean, this is also about, for example, if Paper Mill want to take us there and they say,
That's
okay,
right.
We'll do it, but we need an ensemble because it's going to be, I don't know, more attractive, whatever are the reasons. So we need to explore. The thing is, the material is very novel. The material is so flexible and novel that we can go in many directions. We can go back to a 4-actor show, or we can go to to add 20 people as an ensemble. I mean, because the material has a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity. So I think that we are learning as we go to see what is the best way to put the show on a stage, on whatever is gonna be the next stage. And we're happy just to find what is the best way so this story reach to more people.
Well, that's a good segue to my question, which is as you do the NAMT Festival in October and beyond, what are your goals and who are some of the kind of collaborators you're looking for, either in producers or partnering theaters?
Oh, well, goodness. Our immediate collaborators, I think it's worthwhile to point out that Jaime and I have been working very closely with Florencia Cuenca, who is his beautiful bride, and she is amazing. And we have had such a fun time collaborating with her on thinking about how we crack the show open dramatically and also like visually, what are some of the opportunities? And of course, where NAMT hopefully can come into play and help us find further collaborators. We're looking for theaters that would be interested in telling this kind of story and exploring, bringing in an audience and developing new kinds of audiences and whatnot. I really think it takes a little bit of someone who is daring and sort of brave, but also really has a great imagination because we love to be imaginative and we like to think about all of the wonderful things that theater can do. This is not one of those shows that we think is going to take quite the budget of like a Wicked or whatever, but we want to see how theater can really make the magic happen in front of our eyes.
Before we wrap up, where can people learn more about you and Roja ahead of the festival? The websites, the socials, anything you'd like to share?
I think that they can visit the NAMT website, NAMT, I think it's .org. They have there, actually they can learn about all the shows being part of this conference this year. And there's a section of Roja there with all the information. They can also visit Tommy's website where he has a section about the show, and TommyNewman.com. Is that your
That's
website,
right.
Tommy? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And social media, we're trying to create content for social media, showing some of the songs, showing what we're doing. I think it's important for the people to connect with what this journey has been. As I was talking before about the representation matter of all this, and about having this journey together with as collaborators. So you can find us also in social media, Instagram, Jaime Lozano, and Tommy Newman Music or Composer is your
Yes, Tommy
Instagram.
Newman music, but
Tommy.
Jaime you're much better at putting social media content online than I am. Like you've got so many things going on, and also like your concert coming up. It's really incredible. He's producing or presenting a song from Roja, Te veré otra vez, the title, not the title song, but the main song for our heroine will be presented at that concert live.
Yeah, for
Wait,
example, you were talking about how we envision like this show being performed. I mean, we have been performing this show just with a couple of guitars, all the readings. And for the concert and for my album, we recorded this song with a full orchestra. We have this song with more than 20 musicians. We're doing the concert with 20 musicians. So so there's no borders. I mean, you can do it. That is just the format, because the story and the music like can go in any direction.
I mean, Tommy, thanks so much for joining us today and introducing the listeners to your musical, Roja.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us. And see you in
yes.
October at the festival, at the conference.
I can't wait to see it this fall in NAMT. It sounds awesome. And of course, a huge thank you to today's co-host, Jen Bender, for joining us today. Thank you, Jen. Tune in next time for more incredible voices from this year's NAMT Festival of New Musicals. Once again, I am your host, Jean-Paul Yovanoff, and on behalf of NAMT and MTR, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you in the theater.